guys, welcome back to The Bright Side. Macy here, The Bright Side Girl, and today we're going to be doing my October reading wrap up. So sorry this is so late with the end of spooky season, and I have been decorating for Christmas. I'm like filming in a weird corner so you can't see the rest of my bookshelves. Just been a little bit extra busy and trying to wrap up some books, but I did read I think 9 or 10 books this month, so we have a lot to talk about. So grab a cup of coffee or a tea or a water or whatever, and we'll just have a little chat about some of the fantastic books I read for the month of October. I think all of these are going to be witchy, monstery, fall, October-y type reads, as that is what I like to read through the month of October especially, but sometimes September as well. So spooky season reads to add to next year's TBR. So first up we're going to talk about a book that I DNF'd. It was the only book that I DNF'd this month, which is great. October tends to be the month where I DNF the most. Kind of a season where I push the limits on the types of books that I want to read, and some books look a lot scarier than others and they're not, and then some books don't look scary, and I'm more on the I don't really want it to be scary, but I don't mind a little creepy atmospheric read. So sometimes I DNF a lot in October if the books get a little too intense or too dark, but I only had one DNF this month and it really wasn't that bad, but I do want to talk about it. Okay, I'm very sad. So I DNF'd The Call by Pilar O'Guin, or O'Gulin. Not sure how to pronounce it. This is the first book in a duology. I'd heard amazing things. I heard this was kind of dark and creepy. It was definitely very dark. I wouldn't consider this like really creepy or scary. It was just really, really dark. We're in a world, it's kind of almost a dystopian, apocalyptic type world where basically there are fairies and they will come and just randomly steal like teenagers and children, and sometimes they don't come back. Like most of the time they don't come back, and if they do come back they're kind of messed up because the fairies kind of like torture them, like literally torture them and do things to them. And so the whole world is designed around being able to train the kids to fight them off and to survive the call, which is where they go, and this usually happens before they turn 18. The whole world is revolved around this and trying to figure out, like, they know why it's happening because in this world they had done things to the fairies and like done bad things to them, and so now they're doing bad things to us, but it's been going on for hundreds of years and they're trying to kind of find peace, but they don't really know how to do that. Sounds amazing, and I feel like this is going to be kind of harsh. I did this via audiobook and the narrator had a very intense Irish accent. I believe this is set in like an Ireland type of setting, and she had a very thick accent. I'm usually really good with accents and usually it makes me like the books more, but I don't know, it was really hard to binge listen to, and I felt like it was a slightly harder to understand. So this may have been better to physically read. I liked the concept and everything. I just wasn't getting attached to any of the characters. I just kind of was like not really caring about what was happening. This is part of a duology. I've heard great things, but I just don't think that this one worked for me, unfortunately. So I DNF'd it about 3/4 of the way through. Next, I read one graphic novel, The October Faction, which I got last year around Halloween time and just never got to it. So this is about like a family that monster hunts, and it's like in their lineage. It was really weird, as graphic novels often are. I didn't hate it. I mean, it was very dark, very, very dark. The art was really cool. And some things didn't make sense. This is the first volume. I did find out that this is a Netflix show that I'm definitely going to check out next year because I feel like it would translate well, and Netflix does a really good job with adaptations, especially comic books. So I think I wound up giving this one like a 3.5 star because the art and everything was good and the story like overall was good. It just had a few things missing for me. Then I read The Devouring Gray by Christina Lynn Herman. So I read a lot of these for Not So Scary-a-thon, which ended the first week of October. I will link that vlog up here in the cards so you guys can check it out. It was my fall Halloween themed readathon and I had a great time. So this one I read for the prompt, read a spooky forest or a creepy forest or something. Honestly, I feel like I maybe just didn't pay attention enough to this one because I didn't love it as much as I was expecting. So it's like after the death of her sister, Violet Sanders finds herself dragged into Fort Pass, New York, and she is a newcomer, but she soon learns that her mother isn't, and they belong to one of the revered founding families of the town where stone bells hang on every doorway and danger lurks in the depths of the woods. So there's like this creepy woods, and there's a bunch of magic and lore in this town. It kind of has like a Riverdale-ish vibe. I feel like this is one that I need to reread. I only gave it like 3.5 stars, but I feel like I may have not paid attention to a couple parts and I need to reread it because I have a feeling that I'm gonna love it. I hope that makes sense. Sometimes that just happens to me where I kind of zone out and I miss a few things. So I still gave it like 3.5 stars, but I'm gonna reread it again and I bet my score will be higher. Then we had a vampire prompt. So I read Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter by Seth Grahame-Smith. Been wanting to read one of his books for a long time. He does like Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies and like a bunch of other like historical gothic books. So this one is very strange. It is like about the full history of Abraham Lincoln's life, but inserted that he is a vampire hunter. So the concept sounds great. I need to watch the movie. However, it is very historical and very school-esque. I don't want to say textbook because it wasn't like that, but it's a very thorough history of Abraham Lincoln, but then there's like him fighting vampires. So like when people die in his life, it's always because of a vampire or something like that. So I liked the overall plot, but I felt like it was too historical and not enough historical fiction, and like it was a little bit slow because it would kind of drag on, like reading letters from his life and things like that. So this was a 3-star. I will check out the movie. If you love vampires and you don't mind a good historical fiction, I would check it out, but it is a little bit on the slower side. Then with my friend Brittany, I'll link her channel down below, I reread House of Furies by Madeleine Roux. I really wanted to finish this trilogy out this year, particularly in October. This is one of my favorite series so far. I haven't read the last book. It's like set in like a Victorian era, and a young girl goes to work at this mysterious house when like this mysterious old lady invites her to come there so that she can have money, because she kind of is used to like tricking people and stealing things. And she goes to work there and there's all this like dark mysterious things happening, and she's not sure like if the people that work there and own it are like doing something or what is happening. This is the perfect like gothic, dark, creepy read that's not scary. Like there's definitely dark things happening and it's just a little bit on the creepy side, but very mysterious. I love a book set in like a manor, like a spooky manor, and she kind of has to figure out what's going on, but you kind of fall in love with the people that are working there while it's happening, and you're hoping they're not doing bad things. It's so good. I can't wait to read the next in the series. So this one is a 4.5 star for me. I really love it, and this is probably one of the most underrated series that I've read and own. Oh, and all of these so far I have read via audiobook other than the graphic novel. Then via audiobook I listened to Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. I have never read an Agatha Christie book. I've noticed that I like a little bit of murder mystery books, not like really intense, but there have been a few that I've kind of liked and I didn't think that I would. And this one was really short, so it was perfect for the readathon. So this one is set, I'm sure you guys know, as it's really popular now. Again, there's a movie for this as well I need to watch, but it's set on a train and there are all these different passengers and they have different jobs, and then there is a murder and everyone's trying to figure out the motive and who would kill this person, and people have different connections to the person that died and how it was done and all that kind of stuff. I was expecting grander things considering this was made into a movie. I was expecting it to be like over the top good, and especially because I don't really read murder mysteries. I think I've read like 2. I also go into things trying not to figure them out so that I can enjoy the surprise. And while I was like slightly surprised by the ending, it also was kind of like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. So I didn't love it as much as I wanted to. It was fun for this time of year and it was quick, but I was hoping it was going to be more like a 4 or 5 star, but it was probably more of like a 3.5. Again, I think the movie is going to be great. Can't wait to watch it. It's got a lot of famous people in it, but not my favorite Agatha Christie, but I will try other things from her as well. Then I also reread Hearts and Other Body Parts with my friend Brittany. This is my ultimate fall Halloween read. Lantern's Ember is probably a close second, but I love this book so much and I wanted to reread it and I wanted her to read it, so we read it together. And this one was recommended to me by one of you guys, and I'm so thankful because it's so good. I love it. And the narrator is Lauren Fortgang, who is one of my favorite narrators and just so good, and it's such a great audiobook for fall and Halloween time. So this one is about 3 sisters and they're witches in modern times, and they're going to high school and they meet this like Frankenstein looking boy and they befriend him, and basically it's just a bunch of hijinks happen. There's like a magical talking cat, so you get kind of Sabrina vibes. There are some other dark creatures in here that are really fun and they all tie together, and it's just a very like fun and festive Halloween style read. Like it's not set in Halloween or anything, but we've got a bunch of different like Halloween lores and myths in here, and there's witches, and it's really good. It's got some silly parts in it. It's not scary or creepy at all. It's kind of, I don't want to say hokey, but just like, I don't know, just really, really fun. If you love like the Hocus Pocus and Casper and that kind of stuff, this gives me those vibes in a book. So I would add this to the top of your list for next year. It's great. I do own it, but my shelves are all crazy right now, so I'm not sure where it is. Then I read Night Books by J.A. White. This is a middle grade book, which middle grades are like my favorite to read around fall and Halloween time because they give me all those vibes that I'm really wanting. So this is about a young boy who gets tricked into going into a certain apartment in his apartment building, and it winds up being owned by a witch, and he gets trapped and he can't leave, and the only way that he can survive and she won't kill him is if he tells her scary stories, because he loves to write scary stories and he has a notebook full of them, and she demands that he tell her a new scary story every night. So you're getting the regular story, but then you're also getting his scary stories mixed in there, and they're creepy and the perfect amount of like dark and creepy, middle grade-esque. It is so good. I absolutely loved this one. I was blown away. It's really great. There's like just friendship in here, and the stories are really good, and just the whole thing was fabulous. And this is also a movie that I need to watch that looks decently good. It looks like it's going to be more for kids, obviously, because it's a middle grade book. But I still want to check it out, and I highly recommend this one. I gave it a solid 4 stars. Another middle grade book I read was Nightmares by Jason Segel. I've been wanting to get to this one for years. So after reading Night Books, this one was kind of a disappointment. I was hoping to love it a lot more than I did, but I kind of saw where the story was going, which is fine, and obviously this is for middle graders as well, but I usually love a good middle grade book. So this one is about a boy that his mom has died and his dad has got a new wife, and he's convinced that this wife is a witch, and when he falls asleep he has nightmares, and there's a witch in his nightmares, and nightmares are kind of like the theme of the book, and they kind of come to life, and it's a whole thing. It wound up kind of redeeming itself towards the end, so I will continue reading, but it was a little bit more on the sad side than I was expecting. Sometimes middle grades do that because they're kind of trying to teach lessons and things like that, and after reading Night Books, which I love so much, I just didn't love this as much as I was wanting, so it was a solid like 3.5, and I will try the next one, but it just wasn't quite there for me. Okay, then the last audiobook I listened to was The Monstromologist by Rick Yancey. I believe this is my first Rick Yancey book. This is a YA gothic horror, also in like that Victorian time period. Gothic horror, Victorian time period are like my favorite, and especially like so having to do with like doctors and things. I don't know why. I have like a whole list. I might do a video on that next year of like Gothic Victorians involving like doctors, because I love them. So we're reading a diary of a boy named William Henry, and he was the assistant of Dr. Warthorpe, I think, who was a monstromologist and studied like monsters in real life and their lore and like how to like get rid of them and all of this stuff. And so he follows him around, and they like study them and dissect them and find them and like kind of like try to keep people safe and all this stuff. And in the beginning, when he's like starting out, he is an orphan boy, and so the doctor's also like taking care of him, and he's living with him because his dad worked for the doctor as well, so he felt responsible to take care of him because of things that happened. And basically a monster is discovered, and they go into great detail. This book's so hard to describe, so this is very graphic and very dark. I normally don't like graphic things, but to me it was done in like a scientist type of way, because they're talking about like the way the eyeballs are like squished into the head and things like that, and it's very like a medical type of speech. So it was probably right at my limit as far as like the graphicness of like darker books. It's very, very dark, but I really enjoyed it. I love this time period, and I really fell in love with the characters as well. And it just had like there was some like funny fun parts into it as well, but it was very like dark and intense, and you're following these monsters and they're making them seem like they could be real, and you're like a little bit creeped out. It's not like super scary or anything, but I really enjoyed it. And this is like a 5 or 6 book series, so I'm definitely going to continue on, because the way that the first one ended leaves a lot of room for things to happen. So I need to collect the rest of them. I'm glad I finally got to this one. I thought it was going to be like a Frankenstein retelling, and it is not. So if you're looking for that, just keep that in mind. But I gave this one probably a solid 4-star. The only thing that I physically read for October besides that graphic novel was Strange Sweet Song by Ari Rule. I just found this one last month and it just kind of called to me. The description was great. So we're at Dunham Conservatory and there's a dark forest. In the forest, they say there lives a great beast called the Felix. Sing de Novelli never put much faith in rumors surrounding the school. Music flows in her blood and she's there to sing. This persistent, glorious academy will finally give her the chance to prove her worth, not just as the daughter of a world-renowned musician, but as an artist and a leading lady in her own right. So that is a very loose thing. There is so much cool things in here. So she's going to school basically to sing opera. Her mother is a super famous opera singer that died in like a tragic way. There is this beautiful opera that they refer to a lot that has a lot of magic and myth in it, that they kind of feel like might be in real life, but they're not sure. There's rumors that there's a magical beast that lives in the forest, but I don't know how to describe it. There is romance in here. There is so much like heartstrings being pulled. It is so different and so beautifully written. This might have been my favorite book of the month. I was very surprised by it. So I'm pretty sure I gave this one 5 stars. If not, it was like 4.5. It was really high. I really loved it. I loved the way it ended. Kind of has almost like a Phantom of the Opera feel, like just a little bit in there, but I loved all the music and the magical woods and the school setting and everything, and it was very, very great. It was really easy to read as well. I had never heard of this one and I highly recommend you guys check it out. So that is it for my October wrap up. I read some really great things. I hope you guys add them to your TBR wish list because they were fantastic. Let me know if you are going to read them or if you have already read them down below in the comments. I'd love to chat about the books with you guys. And I will see you guys next time on The Bright Side. Bye!